And how do we develop that awareness? Well, we sit and we become comfortable with who we are and with our mind, realizing that we're not going to be able to stop a thought, but we can become aware that our mind has now become distracted.
But I believe the great is still yet to come. I won't stop fighting, man, until I'm done.
Hello, folks. Welcome to the 13th Breakfast Ball. I guess, what do we say? The average podcast lasts 7 episodes before they give up. So we're almost double mediocrity at this point, which is, we're happy with that. I'm your host, Bob Cardia, and to my far left and your far right, the dashing Richie Stoltz. And we are truly, truly blessed this morning to have a guest, Spencer Broad. Spencer has done some presenting with us in the past. He has been in meditation, I guess, for nearly 20 years in meditation.
Yeah,
in yoga. I'm sorry.
Right.
And then in meditation. Why don't you
I've been practicing yoga for about 20 years, 18 or 19 years. Been teaching yoga for 7 years. I've had a meditation practice for about 10 years now. I'm now also a certified meditation teacher, facilitator, and obviously I represent a meditation company that we can talk about as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
give them a plug now.
First of all,
paying attention.
Thank you both for having me today. So,
Thank you.
just to give you a little bit of my background, I spent 20 years as a chiropractor. Yep. So my background is in anatomy and physiology. And then I left that profession. I spent 17 years in the employee benefits profession, which is about the same time that I coincided with starting my yoga practice back in 2005. And then at the end of 2022, I retired from all my day jobs, the employee benefits, and now I teach yoga regularly in South Jersey and a couple different places, and I represent a local nonprofit called Meditation for Leadership. It's the word meditation, the number 4, and the word leadership. And Meditation for Leadership is an organization that brings mindfulness and meditation programming to the worksite. Primarily to the leadership teams at the worksite, to make stronger businesses, to make more aware businesses, to make better leaders. We also work with individuals within Meditation for Leadership, but our primary focus is working with groups, whether it be a team or whether it be a sports team or whether it be a team at a corporate entity.
Mm-hmm. Which is great. So what I always try to do, and Richie and I talk about this all the time, is we try to identify people that have value to what we do. And if you haven't had the pleasure of seeing Spencer, we've had him now at least 3 events. Very impressive. There's things that I'm not an expert in, and when I'm not, I try to bring someone in that is. And sometimes that works, and sometimes that doesn't. But
we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, the 3 functions we've done, when people walk out, they say, "Boy, Spencer."
Yeah, we've had a good time,
yes,
definitely.
So
yeah.
I'm thrilled with that. And just quickly, I forgot to do this because I forget things sometimes. That's what happens when you get a little older. But anyway,
a great memory. It's just a short one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yes, Richie just stole my line. I tell everybody I have a great memory. It's just a short one. But with that said, thank you. I was talking to a very dear friend of ours the other day who does professional consulting, and we're growing at about 10% a week right now, which he says is excellent. So if you can keep liking what we're doing, keep subscribing, we would appreciate it very much. Now, with that said, I have a quote. As for those of you who do know or don't know, I've been the head golf coach at Rutgers now for this is my 31st spring, and Richie's one of my former players, All-American, and the man on the other side of the fence that you can't see over there, DMG, David Gibson, our new hire that'll start teaching soon for us. He is here also, former team captain at Rutgers. I've been coaching there for 31 springs, and we went through a span there in about 11 years where we made 9 national championships.
That is impressive.
Thank you. We 52 first-team all-conference players, I think 5 or 6 NCAA All-Americans. So we were talking Phil Jackson earlier. Is he a great coach? Does he have great players? And I can tell you, I was a much better coach with better players.
Yes, absolutely. But having better players does not guarantee.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
The chemistry, and I think
Right.
what you said to me that
Yep.
really, is exactly, we didn't have much chance to talk about it, but that's exactly how I feel, is, getting the right mix of quality players in a room is important, but steering that ship in the right direction is a whole different matter.
Right.
So anyway, Spencer is our meditation expert. So I, you know me, folks. I go through the books and I try to do my prep work, and I pulled out a bunch of meditation quotes that I thought would represent the direction that we were going. Being a meditation novice, as I told you, I'm working on my own demons and meditation and whatnot to get my headspace a little bit clearer, because as I called myself, and Richie knows this and David knows this, I'm a ready, fire, aim kind of guy. Like I just, if things don't get done immediately, I kind of start wigging out a little bit. So I need meditation. I need Spencer. That's what I need. So thank you.
I'll move in.
There you go. Wouldn't be the first. All right. So the quote I saw that I think Spencer identified with the greatest, that I would love your comment on. Distractions are everywhere. Notice what takes your attention, acknowledge it, and then let it go. So, bang, to you, if we're talking about sports performance psychology, which this is the point of our show with a golf backbone, what does that mean to you?
So that's a great quote, number one. And one of the things that I say in my yoga classes all the time to my yoga students is acknowledge, accept, and release. Okay, so there are distractions by the thousands. And when you are a high level athlete, there are thousands of incredibly talented athletes out there. What sets apart the average athlete from the one who makes who makes it, who becomes a champion like you did?
Yeah.
And it's not always the physical swing. It's not always how well you can hit the baseball. It's not always, how well you can shoot a free throw. It might be how well you shoot a free throw with 1 second left and the game's tied in Game 7.
Yeah.
Or it might be how you set up for your putt on the 18th green at the Masters or wherever you're working, right? Yeah. I mean, a lot of people that are wonderful golf players and are wonderful putters. Yeah. Right? But can they block out those distractions at the right moment? And on a golf course, and I am not a golfer, I'll be transparent about that, but I watch golf and I know a lot of, not as much as all of you, but I know enough about it to be able to have a conversation. Yeah. And, golf is so much into getting into your own head. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And how do we deal with these distractions? So there's distractions everywhere. There's distractions in our life. There's our family. There's our friends. There's somebody cutting us out on Interstate 295, which is a local interstate here. And there's also distractions on a golf course.
That was me, by the way.
Yeah, maybe it's windy out. Maybe it's raining. Maybe there's a divot in the course. Maybe somebody yells something just at that exact moment. So how do you block out those distractions? Well, in meditation, we talk about coming back to the breath. And the breath is really the focus in meditation. And the breath is really the focus in yoga. Yoga is nothing more than a moving meditation. And when I introduce my classes, I will a little bit later this morning, I tell people, welcome to your 60-minute moving meditation. Because yoga is nothing more than meditation, except you're moving your body. Mm-hmm. Now, there's lots of different ways to meditate. A lot of times people think that the only way to meditate is you sit cross-legged in front of a Buddha with incense and a candle burning.
That's what I was saying.
Exactly.
You don't have to do that. Now, I will tell you that I have a spot in my home where I sit cross-legged with a little Buddha and candle and incense burning. That's me. But you can be meditating while you're cooking. You can be meditating while you're walking. You can be meditating while you're skiing. You could be meditating, playing basketball. You've heard the term in the zone, right? Yeah. Okay, sure. And especially in sports, you've heard the term in the zone. What does that mean to you when you're in the zone? It means that you are focused, right? That whatever is coming along as a distraction, you're able to acknowledge that distraction. Okay, so it's windy out. You acknowledge that it's windy out. You accept the fact that it's windy out. And then you release those feelings of, oh my God, my shot is going to be affected by the wind here, and I'm going to look like a loser. Right? So and in meditation, and particularly with Meditation for Leadership, the organization that I represent, we talk about the 4 pillars of meditation. We talk about awareness, connection, perspective, and potential. Those are the 4 pillars that we teach to our students, whether it be an individual student or whether it be a group. But I want to stress awareness here and then get back to the distraction quote. So when a distraction comes along, whether it be a sound or a thought, the first thing that we talk about in developing a meditation practice is how do you develop the awareness to realize that your mind has wandered because of the distraction. It might be a past of the thought, a thought of the past. It might be a thought of the future. But these are all distractions, just taking our minds all the way away from where we want it to be, right? So in Buddhist writings, they talk about monkey mind. They talk about puppy mind. So visualize a new puppy that you just got yesterday and what that puppy is doing in your living room. Or picture a group of trees and there are monkeys jumping from one tree all over the place. Monkey mind or puppy mind. The human mind never stops. And another misconception about meditation is that a lot of people who begin to meditate believe that meditation is stopping their mind, clearing your mind. Mm-hmm. I will tell you that will never, ever happen. You will never stop your mind. And so many people begin to meditate and stop because they think that they have to stop their mind. That will not happen. We are human.
Well, that's a plus.
You will never stop your mind. There are 0% of people, and I mean this. There are 0% of people that when they first start meditating think that they're not horrible at it. Mm-hmm. Everybody thinks they're horrible at it, including myself. The first time I meditated, oh my God, I'm doing this wrong, okay? Because my mind just kept following these distractions. So as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about, well, what's for dinner? Or what happened to this business client? I haven't heard from Mr. Smith, and I was supposed to hear from him. Or what am I doing later? Or how are my kids doing? And all of these distractions, they take our mind in all these different ways. And it kicks in the part of the nervous system that we've talked about before called the sympathetic nervous system, which is that fight or flight nervous system. Mm-hmm. So developing awareness to deal with distractions is the first step. And how do we develop that awareness? Well, we sit and we become comfortable with who we are and with our mind, realizing that we're not going to be able to stop a thought, but we can become aware that our mind has now become distracted. Mm-hmm. We're now thinking about something other than our breath. Mm-hmm. And as you begin to develop a meditation practice, you're able to come to that awareness more rapidly. So, and able to come back to that breath more rapidly.
I'm hearing you speak. We years ago, we were part of a group called SEA, which is Sports Enhancement Associates. Worked with a lot of tour players. And when I was a kid, they used to say, well, if something's distracting you, block it out, block it out, block it out. And I always found myself saying, okay, don't think about that, don't think about that. And that wasn't working, right? So what they had told us is when you are doing something like that, is rather than trying to block out, DMG sitting over there, right? Just say, hey, he's there, accept it, and focus on what you're tasking. Mm-hmm. And from what I'm hearing you say, that's...
And come back to the breath.
Yeah.
It's the breath that is center. What is the one thing that we always have with us? We always have our breath with
Richie?
us. Oh. Yeah, you might always have Richie. Right. But the one thing that we always have with us is our breath. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that we can learn to control is our breath. So when you're at the 18th green at the Masters and you have an 11-foot putt to win the Masters, what is keeping your breath under control? Go ahead. Are you in that fight or flight part of the nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, where your eyes are dilated and you're shaking and you're nervous and anxious? Or are you able to incorporate the other part, the rest and digest part of the nervous system, called the parasympathetic nervous system? We don't have enough time really to get into all of that today. But the other part of that nervous system that is for, that's fine, that is for calming and relaxation. Are you able to do that? And the difference between somebody who can sink that 11-foot putt on the 18th green at the Masters and somebody who kicks it out 4 inches to the left, and I'm not sure if I'm using the right terminology here, is can you control the breath? Can you block out everything else that's going around, the millions of people around the world that are watching you? Okay, and the people that are in the stadium there, that are on the grounds, that are watching you, can you block that out?
What I love about this, because you said some things with meditation, like it's not trying to stop your thought process, because Lord knows I've been trying to do that forever. We teach, and it's one of the, when we do our basic series of 5 lessons, alignment is one of the things that we do. Mm-hmm. Now, I always, and Richie said we do it a million times, is I encompass that with a pre-shot routine. And there's a story from Tom Kite in 1992. He won the U.S. Open, and it was one of the worst weather days of all time. There was literally golf professionals shooting in the 90s at the U.S. Open. And after it was over, they're sitting at the table, and the reporters are asking Tom Kite, how were you able to overcome the elements? And he sat there and he's like, what do you mean? He had a very specific pre-shot routine that was within 10 seconds of the same routine every single time. Mm-hmm. He dropped behind the ball, identified 2 targets, lined his club face up, parallel, and went. He was so engrossed in that process that Mount Vesuvius could have been going off behind him.
Focus.
Right. So now if I'm listening to you and hearing you correctly, that pre-shot routine is actually a form of meditation.
No question about it. Focus.
I'm learning as I go.
So in my class, here, the words I use constantly are focus, concentrate, meditate, come back to the breath. When so what Tom Kite was doing, and I remember him very well, what Tom Kite was doing was exactly that. He was focusing, whatever his focus was, and it can be different for everybody. Everybody finds their own, and that's why there are so many different types of meditations. Okay, because some people like a guided meditation, some people like a quiet meditation, some people like music when they meditate, some people like to do it in different ways. And what Tom Kite was doing was he had this meditation routine. It probably wasn't called a meditation routine.
Called a pre-shot routine.
Right, and he may not have even known that he was actually going into that zone. That's what we talked about.
8-10 seconds ago.
Right. That's what we talked about, that zone. Right. I used to be a skier. Wasn't a great skier, but I was on the Black Diamonds, if you know what Black Diamonds are. And I remember that there were some times where for 5 seconds I just was in such a skiing zone that I didn't even know what else was around me. Yeah. I mean, I was aware enough that if somebody came in front of me that I would be aware of that. But that's what Tom Kite did. Yeah. He put himself in that zone. That's what Michael Jordan did. Michael Jordan was a meditator. That's what Kobe Bryant did. Kobe Bryant was a meditator. We've talked about Phil Mickelson as well,
breathing,
who's also a meditator. That's what these, whether they call it meditation or not, these top professional athletes have some sort of focus routine where they can go into their own zone, and that's meditation. They might not call it that, but that's what it is.
I love this. Okay, so now with that as our backbone, because I think that's wonderful. For those, the Dashing Richie Stoltz, by the way, for those who don't know the Dashing Richie Stoltz, he holds all kind of records. He played for the Methodist team when they won the national championship, although not a starter at that point. Played for Rutgers in 2019. I put Richie head-to-head against the number 4 ranked player in the nation, and Richie beat him that day. So I guess, Richie, what I want to ask you is, from winning, 4 NCAA tournaments in a row to setting course records to beating the number 4 player in the country, is anything resonating with you, what Spencer's saying now, as to when you're at your peak level of performance, you answer, what resonates from you?
So, breathing is the big one. So we talked about it a couple podcasts ago. When I broke the course record, it was breathing was what got me through the rest of the round. And then also focusing on one shot at a time, one specific target. That's a big one for me. One specific
Staying
target.
in the present, one target at a time. Yeah.
And
Correct.
Spencer, I got a question for you too. I do a drill at home, and you guys watching might think I'm a little insane here.
I know.
But what I do is I stare at a point at the wall, and I do that. I don't know where I got it from. It could have. I don't know. I don't know where I got it from. But I stare at a point at the wall, and I flip my phone upside down, and I start a timer. And what I have to do is I have to stare at that singular point for 5 minutes, but not knowing when 5 minutes is up. And what happens is you start to get distracted here and there, and you hear a noise and you want to look over, but it's about bringing your focus back to the point on the wall. Do you like that?
Yeah, you're doing a 5-minute meditation is what you're doing. And you're focusing on, so sometimes there'll be, one of the reasons I light a candle is because sometimes I just focus on that flame. Same thing as you're doing. Same exact thing as you're doing. And then when I'm distracted by a noise outside or the cat or whatever the case might be, I come right back to that focus. Yeah, and you talked about being. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no! I do that because on the golf course, that's exactly what I'm trying to do.
That's what you do. That's right.
I'm trying to focus on my target, and then you get the distraction here and there, and you're trying to bring that focus back onto the target.
That is correct.
That way,
that's the whole, you could just tie this in so many directions. We would say aim small, miss small. Like just to be specifically focused on target, because that's studies will show over and over again that people that focus specifically on a target are much more accurate as to being broad in general.
It was funny, by the way, when I played in the U.S. Open qualifier, the practice round I played with a member, and I thought this was hilarious. I hit a tee shot right down the middle of the fairway, and the guy goes, Where were you aimed on that one? I was like, right side of the tree trunk. And he goes, wow, and you hit that right side. That's incredible. Do you do that every time? No.
Right.
I would have said yes.
Right.
Well, you don't.
Yeah. And it's about staying present. You mentioned that. It's staying present. So if you are thinking about what happened 6 months ago in a relationship, or what you're going to have for dinner Thursday night, you can't stay present. So mindfulness is the skill that we utilize, and meditation is the skill that we utilize to find that mindfulness. Meditation is a way to become more mindful, to stay present. And one thing I failed to mention is to do it all without judgment. Okay, because there's a lot of times that we're staying in the present, but we say, that was horrible, I suck at this. And so it's really important to when you are meditating and you're distracted, or when you are golfing and you're distracted, to allow the ego to leave and to stay non-judgmental. Because once you get into that judgmental emotion, then that fight or flight kicks in again, and then you're flying all over the place. I can't believe I did that, or that was just get back to the next shot. Get back to the next focus.
The one thing I'm thinking of, and we talked about this before the show, is and this was an SCA thing also from back in the day. They said the people that reach the ultimate peak state mentally in golf, they typically end up being target aware and not self-aware. And when you're self-aware, you're letting I stink. I hope nobody's watching me. And if you're there, you'll never get to greatness.
That's correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, so let me do this, because I got this off of Headspace.com, and
we're
brushing up against the end of the show. Amazingly as that is, it said a day thinking about what could happen, should happen, or what might have been is a day missed. So I guess Spencer's point, Richie's point, my point is stay in the present, stay focused. And we're going to have you back, because that was the fastest 24 minutes on Earth.
One breath, one moment at a time. That's kind of that's kind of one of my sayings is one breath, one moment at a time. Stay present, stay current, stay now, and just let life happen.
Love it. Spencer, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. That was great. That did go really quick.
Yeah, it was good.
And I appreciate you having me here
Of course,
today.
but we'll have you back, because we
sounds good.
We only scratched the surface on
okay.
this one.
Wonderful.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yep.
Glass of bourbon, ha ha. bourbon heart. My bourbon heart. Alcohol. Because no great story ever started with, I'll have a salad.